Dr. Burt Schweitzer. I was hired in August of 1970 in a 12-month position, Director of Learning Development for the Reading and Study Skills program that they had here. My predecessor had left to work on his doctorate, and I had taught two reading courses through what was then continuing ed at the college, and so they knew who I was, and I got a call one day from Harry Meisel, who was the Dean of Students at the time, and would you be interested in a full-time job? My background was interesting in that I was a elementary school teacher for 9 years, and also included in that I finished a master's degree in school administration, and then I did a 6th year in reading. So I was a certified reading consultant for the state of Connecticut, and my goal was to become an elementary school teacher. In the summer of 1970, I was teaching summer school in East Hartford. They had hired me for the fall semester the previous year, and I was doing summer school teaching. And I get a call from Harry Meisel, am I available? I don't know if the law still applies today, but it used to be that if you'd signed a contract in a public school system and you wanted to get out of the contract in August, that was not the good thing to do. So I went to the superintendent of the school, Eugene Diggs at the time, told him my story, and he and Dr. Lowe touched base, and I was hired probably within 2 days. It was one of those remarkable things, and I started in August of 1970. I was Director of Learning Development in charge of teaching study skills and reading courses to students, and I was the only full-timer on campus, and for several years I was the only full-timer who did this work, and we hired other people. And eventually we hired Lois Ryan and the former division director here to teach courses and so on. And in 97 I retired, and I'm still teaching here. I was at Central Connecticut State University for 9 years part-time and in the communication department. And when I retired, someone had given me the name of the department chair at the University of Hartford, Hillier College, and I called up, and they literally hired me over the phone. So I'm still there part-time. When Central was having budget problems and they had to let a lot of part-timers go, I was one who had to go. And Jim Gentile, who replaced me, as a matter of fact, asked me if I would come back and teach English classes here at the college. And so that's where I am today.
So essentially, the college has been around since 1963.
Correct.
And you've been around for about 42 or 43 of those years.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was just telling my wife the other day that I just finished 51 years of teaching.
How many years?
51. The 9 years in public school, right out of college. I was 20.
What was the college campus like when you came here in 1970?
Facilities or... Yeah, well, it was very meager. I mean, they had the old building down on Hartford Road. I don't know if that was the old Helco building or whatever, Hartford Electric Light. They had that building. They had the faculty offices were up on the main street. The president's office was up on Keeney Street in an old farmhouse. The year after I came, they had broken ground for the old campus, the 12 buildings that remained in existence for so many years. But it was kind of fun. It was a major change for me because I had been in public schools for 9 years, and I was used to wearing a shirt and a tie and a jacket and all of that, and come here to the college and it's far more relaxed and informal than that. And but I was excited about it. It's something that I wanted to do. People ask, what makes you choose the career that you choose? And I think back to a high school teacher I had in Weaver High School in Hartford, Paul Euchers, who was an English teacher. And he's the one I think that influenced me the most to teach what I do today. So,
what were the students like at MCC in 1970?
I remember that the spring before I came on board, there were demonstrations, for Vietnam. But it's hard to say. I mean, we've seen changes over the years, and yet, I have not lost my enthusiasm for teaching. I have not lost my enthusiasm for the students who I teach. It was a totally different environment. The Vietnam War was still winding down and that kind of thing, and I just don't think there was that much difference in the people. There are differences today, of course, with all the things that we have, the videos and the cameras and the iPods and the iPads and so on. Students today will play with their iPads and iPhones in class, and one may not even know it unless one goes looking for it. That's a big change. The technology has changed, and I think a lot of it is the civility has changed as well.
Can you elaborate on the change in civility that you perceive?
Yeah, again, I think, some students, don't want to be here, and they're forced to be here. My job as a teacher is to encourage them to be here. I take pride in the fact that I very rarely lose students. I heard attrition rates of 50% in some classes and this and that. I don't lose many students, and I'm quite proud of that. But again, I don't tolerate, disrespect in the classroom. I encourage students to be respectful of each other. I know, for example, Bob, teaching speech classes with you, I tell the students on the first day of class, I said, you're going to become good friends with everybody, each of you, in class. And it's true. The camaraderie that I see, among the groups, one of the projects we do is the symposium, where we go to the library, we do research, and I have a group leader, and we have 4 or 5 groups, and they put together a whole project over probably a 2 or 3 week experience. And the support that they give each other is really remarkable. It's a lot of fun. When Jim asked me to come back and teach, in the English department, when I left Central, and this building had just been up. I mean, I walk into this building and the AST building, and I just have a lot of pride, and I just feel good. I really do. I still, to this day, I walk through. I see that the new path, great path, remarkable from what we had back in 1970, those old buildings and so on.
Who were some of your colleagues, faculty and staff, that you remember, especially from the early years, 70s, 80s?
A lot of them are gone now. Okay, one of the persons who I have a great deal of respect and admiration for is Jim Tatro, and I was going through a period professionally here at the college that wasn't good, and Jim helped me out. He gave me some courses for the summer and this and that. He was wonderful to me. I was acting the department chair when department chairs started to be implemented, and I was department chair of Educational Services Department, which included phys ed, library science, reading and study skills, and a couple of other little odds and ends for a short period of time, and that was kind of fun. But they kind of did away with that after a while, But Jim was a tremendous help to me at that point. And all of the people, I've seen tremendous changes. The camaraderie here. I spent 9 years at Central. I didn't see the camaraderie there as I do here. Even at the University of Hartford, they're friendly and this and that. But here, it's fun.
Can you speculate as to why the culture here seems different?
I think a lot of it has to do with the faculty that has been hired over the years. People are far more friendly to each other. There's a lot of camaraderie. We have happy hours on Thursday afternoons, no liquor, unfortunately. And it's just a lot of fun being here. We laugh, we tell jokes, we have a lot of fun interacting with each other on campus. I don't think there's a day that's going by that I haven't looked forward to coming to work.
Let me throw out some names, and if you can recall anything about them, maybe you can tell us. Jack Gannon.
Jack was my first boss. He was head of counseling in the Student Affairs Division. Harry Mizell was the dean of Student Affairs. Jack was my first boss. We had a lot of fun with Jack. Great guy, and we used to have a lot of fun kidding around with each other and so on. He was a good boss. He was understanding. He was helpful. Harry Mizell was very helpful. I can't think of anyone offhand.
Did you work with Sid Lipshires?
Not directly. Sid Lipshires was instrumental in forming the union and 4 Cs. But other than that, seeing him at meetings or 4Cs meetings and so on, that's about the contact that I had. Other than on campus, of course, we would chat, obviously.
Toby Tamarkin.
Toby was unique. Colleague first, became an administrator second. She took the humanities division to a whole new level. She was remarkable. I mean, her ideas and her enthusiasm and so on, it was truly something because it involved the whole division. We had what were they called, Bob? You remember the weekends, those
Weekend experience.
Weekends experience and so on, and everyone participated. I was there helping shelve out pizza to the kids, and so on and so forth. She was a good administrator, a good leader, and did you know that she is a boxing referee
I heard
down in
something to
Florida?
that effect.
Somebody told me that a few months ago. Yeah, she's a boxing referee.
So her career at MCC prepared her for
She went on, yeah. Well, she went on to go to Holyoke Community College, for a short time over there, and then the last thing I heard that she was down in Florida with her husband. So,
Lois Ryan.
Lois owes her tenure to me. I always kid her about that. She was the first person who we hired part-time. She had been at Central. She had finished her master's, I think, there and so on, and I hired her to teach part-time in the Reading and Study Skills program because the program did expand. Originally, it was non-credit. I was told by a few people on campus that you will never get credit for reading and study skills on this campus. I pursued that, and we ended up with 3 classes with credit. So I hired Lois, a couple of other part-timers, and then when we were expanding the area, Lois applied for the position, and she was hired. And I remind her about that every now and then, jokingly, of course.
Mike Doreno.
Love Mike. Mike, I was on the search committee that hired Michael, and clearly there was no contest. Mike's been a tremendous asset to the college, as you know. I mean, he's just a lot of fun. He's a good friend, and I just love the guy. He's just super as far as I'm concerned.
Are there any other names that come to mind?
Well, remember tragically Georgia Reed, who had some problems. She was here for quite a few years. I was on the search committee that hired her. Lois and I, as a matter of fact, were the 2 folks who actually were on the search committee that hired Georgia. I'm trying to think. She's the dean now. Susan Heward. Susan Heward was hired part-time. And again, she went on to become division director, and now she's an academic dean at another college. Great lady. Good people. I'm proud to have served with them and still serve with them.
If you think back over your 40-plus years here, are there some things that you're most proud of?
Yeah, I think I was able to do my doctorate because of the college. UMass, I was interviewed at UMass, and they offered me an opportunity to work on my doctorate at UMass, but I'd have to give up my job here. And I had 4 children at this point, and it was not logical or conceivable I could do that. When the doctoral program opened up at Nova Southeastern University, I applied to and was accepted into the program, which allowed me to work on my doctorate part-time for 3 years and still hold my full-time job. So if I didn't have that opportunity, things would have been dramatically different. So that was a tremendous help. And plus the fact that they gave me some monies towards my tuition and, professional development monies and so on. I published 2 books during my tenure here, co-authored and published 2 books, one on study skills and one on phonics, Word Attack, which was offered all across the country. It's up in the Library of Congress, copyrighted, and there's the opportunity to teach the kinds of things I taught. Bob Richardson comes to mind, and Bob was my mentor when I started teaching public speaking classes, and I attended a few of his classes, and I pretty much followed his protocol when I started teaching the public speaking classes. And then they asked me to teach English. And I have a lot of credits in English, undergraduate and graduate. And so I started teaching composition. And then one semester I taught Intro to Lit. And then I taught advanced composition. And all the while teaching the reading and study skills courses, et cetera. The college offered me an opportunity to work off campus in continuing ed. I taught at the company in what is it called? The insurance company in Bloomfield. No, not Aetna. I was there. Yeah, I was.
Connecticut General?
Yeah, CG. I taught there. As a matter of fact, they hired me as a consultant to work with some of their people in reading and writing skills. I taught there. I taught at Wire Mold Corporation. I taught several times at Aetna and at Pratt & Whitney. All of these opportunities were because of the college. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so on. So I've had a lot of experience.
You mentioned public speaking. Can you think of any funny stories that may have taken place in public speaking, perhaps regarding a student's presentation?
I can think of a lot of stories. One sad story, unfortunately, was several years ago when Michael McGonigal was still here. And we had a student in our speech class who was working in a group with a female group leader. And there was a conflict there. And so he ran out of class. He was in the library, and I met with the dean of students, and I met with Sue Hewitt, as division director at the time, and we called this guy in, and so on. I think I could have asked him not to stay in class, but because he couldn't get along with some of the other students. But I let him stay, and this was the old B classroom, speech classroom on the old campus. So I had him do the recordings. So he's participating. Reminds me what the kinds of things that I did when I was an elementary school teacher, when I had a recalcitrant student in class, and I had him do something different. So he was participating and not realizing he was being punished at the same time. And that was kind of funny. But he thanked me for that opportunity. And there were other kinds of incidents that only you can recall in your own experience with speech classes.
When people recall you, when your name comes up in conversation in the years ahead,
my ears burn.
What do you want them to say about Burt Schweitzer?
Wow. I would hope that my colleagues respected me, that they enjoyed working with me, as I have with them, and that I was a professional, and that I made a contribution to the college.
Anything you'd like to add?
Not really. Not really.
Good. I think we're done.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.